So the question, I think, can be posed well by juxtaposing two different verses found in the Old Testament. So we'll just kind of set the table here with these two verses. Both of them are God speaking to his people through a different prophet. I'll throw this somewhere. And the first prophet he speaks through is the prophet Malachi. And in Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, we find God making a very interesting statement that I think relates to prayer. And it's a statement here. He says, I, the Lord, do not change. Well, there you go. God doesn't change, which means he doesn't change his mind. Once he's made up his mind on something, he's going to do it. He doesn't change. So what's the point of praying about something that he's already set his mind to? If this is true about God, prayer probably doesn't matter that much. But then we have to juxtapose this verse with another verse, a statement that God made through the prophet Hosea, in Hosea chapter 11, verse 8, where God says this, my heart is changed within me. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say you never change? If you don't change, then how can your heart be changed within you? This seems to be a contradiction. I mean, he tells Malachi, I don't change. He says to Hosea, my heart is changed within me. What's the deal? Which is it? And, I spent some time wrestling through these two seemingly contradictory statements that God makes this week and praying through it and studying through it. And my mind was kind of blown. It was like one of those moments, like, whoa, where you realize how both of them can be simultaneously true. Does God change or doesn't he? Yes. And what makes the difference in whether he changes or not usually has to do with our well-being. And so what I believe God is saying to us is that when it's in our best interest that he does not change his plans, then he stays steady. But when it's in our best interest that he changes his plans, he's willing to do it, particularly when it comes to issues of compassion. When his compassion is aroused, we find God is very willing to change. Just look at each of these two passages I just gave you, but let's look at the rest of the verse. I kind of just gave you the first half, okay? So let's go back to Malachi. He says to Malachi, I, the Lord, do not change, so you, O descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. So what he's saying is, it's in your best interest that I don't change, because I am compassionate, because I am long-suffering, because I am patient with you, and I'm not going to stop being patient and compassionate and merciful. Because of that, because I don't change, you are spared. And you should be thankful I don't change that part of me. It's in your best interest that I remain in this way, compassionate and long-suffering. But then he says to Hosea, we can look at the rest of it, my heart is changed within me. All my compassion is aroused. He goes on to say, I will not carry out my fierce anger, nor will I turn and devastate Ephraim. In other words, God had a plan. He said, if you do this, this will be the result. That you will receive my punishment for your rebellion. But God says, you know what? My heart is stirred up within me and is changed within me because my compassion is aroused. And I will not do that thing I was planning to do because my compassion is aroused, and it is in your best interest that I change my plans so that you can be saved. So here we see that God is saying that he doesn't change, but he does change. And it all depends on what is in our best interest. And so really, what's the point? I mean, if this is true, what's the point? Here's what I would say. If this is true, if God's heart can be changed, then it would mean that prayer matters more than we could ever imagine. And we should pray as though we can change the outcome of things in this world, especially when it comes to issues of compassion, injustice, oppression, abuse, things that gets God's compassion aroused.